This is one of those videos where you're gonna see OJ Snip for keeping the realist news real. If Donald Trump's making a bad decision, or his Goldman Sachs people who surround him are, I gotta report it about that tax plan. But first, Cliff High. What? Him and his wife Kathy, you know, they saw the Star Wars, the Crypto Wars background, the thing I did, the little Chewbacca. And he said, I was trying for the life of me to figure out how you did that noise. He said, me and Kathy played it back and played it back and played it back. He's young Skywalker, he was calling me. So I replied, I said, well, my video tonight for tomorrow, I'll give everyone a little how-to. So the Chewbacca noise. You do not use your tongue at all. Your tongue's not flipping, vibrating. There's no tongue in this. This is in the back of the throat, almost like a gargle. You gotta shake that little, whatever that is back there, little flap thing. Yeah. Like that. There's no tongue whatsoever. My teeth are kind of, you could do it. Teeth almost all the way closed, touching each other, almost. And then just watch the facial expression, right? Now my back teeth tend to want to touch when I do that. Back here and back here. It's natural when making the Chewbacca sound. I told Cliff, by the way, I'm 42% Wookiee. If you only saw my hairy freaking legs, you would say, oh, that's how Joe does it. There's no trick about the back of your damn throat. He's part Wookiee. Correct. And when I saw the title of these two videos, these two articles on Zero Hedge about the tax plan, screwing the middle class, kind of, making the 1% even richer, it wasn't a happy, it was like a, and then I opened the other one, Trump tax plan to benefit top 1% the most. That's my sad Chewbacca sound. I'll start with this one because they go hand in hand. Anyways, I thought I was middle class? ? Posted by, well, Zero Hedge, but from Jim Quinn via the Burning Platform blog. The best way to teach your kids about taxes is by eating 30% of their ice cream. Bill Murray. That's a quote he put on there, which is an excellent one. When I saw that slimy tentacle of the Goldman Sachs vampire squid, Gary Cohn, bloviating about Trump's tax plan and how it was going to do wonders for the middle class, I knew I was probably going to get screwed again. And after seeing the outline of their plan, it is certain I will be getting it up the rear once again from my beloved government. I know everyone's tax situation is different, but I'm just a hard-working middle-aged man, he said middle-aged white man, whatever, with 2 kids in college and some hefty family medical expenses. And I'd like to stop there for a second because it instantly puts a thought into my mind. 2 days ago, I'm talking with a coworker, not one I've ever mentioned actually in this case, and to you guys in my videos, works as an engineer in the support department, and we're having a little chat, and he's telling me about his kid. It was basically it's kind of in his gene, that their genes, major diabetes, born with diabetes kind of a thing. The kid's on insulin. Kid's probably, I think, 11 or 12, and got the insulin pump. He's telling me, it's the $10,000 pump, and the 70 or so, 80, 90 bucks, something like that, they were paying for insulin has all of a sudden spiked 3 times the value to $270, $280. And they're struggling, and they're asking to see if they can get some kind of assistance, obviously. And he says, I think I already know the answer. We make too much money. His wife works in retail at the Old Navy store. And, of course, he works where I work. So they make too much money. I said, but if you were an illegal alien, you'd be getting everything for free, and you'd be working under the table, and you'd have plenty of cash in hand. He says, oh, you bet you. So he says, we are literally, because of the healthcare costs, he says, I said, can I just tell you something? I stopped paying insurance a long time ago. I only did it for 1 year in a row recently because I thought I'd use insurance to help pay for my foot surgery that I thought I'd be having again for the third time, which I told you all about that. And ultimately, it's like I'm paying out of pocket anyways. When you realize how much the insurance actually pays for this, you realize, why am I making this large monthly payment to you to then pay an even huger amount to the doctor and the hospital and the facility and the this ologist and that ologist and all these, you know, and I said, we don't pay insurance. We don't play that game. He says, I'm dead serious. We had the discussion last night. He says, we had the discussion last night. Why are we even paying this anymore? Because now we have to pay them, and then we get stuck paying the majority of the bill anyways. We might as well get rid of that cost and just pay the freaking bill. I said, I know. So I'm trying to tell you. He says, you know what else we're thinking of doing? Because this is unsustainable. We can't do this. What's my kid going to do? He has to have insulin. He says, you know what they charge in other countries? I said, oh, God, I can imagine. 10, 15 bucks. 20 bucks. Here in America, 270 bucks now. Congress not doing anything. Nobody's doing anything. It's totally fine. And he says, we're literally thinking about getting a divorce. A strategic divorce, my wife and I. Then one of us, her probably, will be able to qualify for some quote-unquote help. Because we can't do this. That's the kind of guy that could use a nice hefty tax cut. You know what I mean? Middle class as they come, right? So, anyways, I'm already clobbered with federal, state, city, and real estate taxes, along with huge toll taxes, sales taxes, gasoline taxes, utility taxes, and phone taxes, and probably 100 more hidden taxes and fees. I effing hate taxes and want nothing more than to see them cut dramatically. I voted for Trump for the following reasons. 1, he wasn't that evil, hateful shrew named Hillary Clinton. Number 2, he promised to repeal and replace Obamacare, which, granted, he's trying desperately. Is he not? I get that. But it takes Congress to help. 3, he promised to build the wall. 4, he promised to keep out Muslims. Now, I don't know if I'll go that far. Oh, all Muslims are bad people. No, but again, I'm reading this article, so I'm just going to read it verbatim. 5, he promised to reduce our military interventions around the world. Yeah, that's not looking good. And 6, he promised to reduce my taxes. Well, 1 out of 6 ain't bad, right? I know the Trump sycophants have a million reasons why he has been thwarted, but his pathetic support for the last GOP Obamacare light bill reveals him to becoming just another establishment pawn. He has taken warmongering on behalf of the military-industrial complex to a new level. No wall on the horizon. Now it is a figurative wall. And now he is disingenuously selling this tax bill as a huge windfall for the middle class, which is a lie based on my analysis of the known details. The truth is, they need to screw the upper middle class in order to reduce corporate tax rates. You hear the talking head experts, paid for by corporations, spinning a yarn about the 35% corporate tax rate and how it makes our corporations terribly disadvantaged. The truth is, corporate lobbyists, I don't have a white working man middle class lobbyist working for me, he says, have bribed Congress to insert so many exemptions, deductions, credits, and loopholes into the tax code. The big corporations pay an effective tax rate of 19% already. If overly burdensome corporate taxes were really a problem, would corporations be generating record after tax profits while GDP grows at a painful, pitiful 2% rate? I don't know how many people are in my boat, but I'm guessing it's a large portion of the middle class. We already know about 50% of the households in the U.S. don't pay any federal income tax. Some even get refunds for not working. That's why there are tax preparation offices all over West Philly and other urban welfare enclaves around the country. Here are the tax brackets for a married middle-class family. If taxable income is between $0 to $18,650, 10% income tax. I'm just going to round off. $18,000 to $76,000, 15%, whatever. $75,000 to $153,000, 25%. Again, plus $10,000 of the amount that's over 75. So 10,000 plus 25% over the 75. Anyways, I'm not gonna read them all. Most middle-class families see the majority of their income taxed between the 10 and 15% rate, with upper middle-class families having a portion taxed at 25%. A family with taxable income of 100,000 would have a tax bill of about 16,500 for an effective rate of about 16.5%. Trump's plan has three rates: 12%, 25%, and 35%. The weasels do not give the income level cutoffs, but we do know they are proposing elimination of the $4,050 personal exemption and the deduction for state and local taxes. They increased the standard deduction from $12,700 to $24,000. The idea is to keep people confused until the 2,000-page bill, reminds you of healthcare, doesn't it, gets passed in the middle of the night after corporate lobbyists insert their goodies. In my situation, it is certain I will be getting screwed. My family of four will lose $16,200 of personal exemptions versus gaining $11,300 in the standard deduction. Where I'm really getting screwed is losing the state and local tax deduction. The only single benefit to me working in this godforsaken hellhole called Philadelphia is I get to deduct the massive tax shakedown amount on my tax return. My Philadelphia, PA, whatever, Philly, and real estate tax bill is huge. It's far more than my mortgage deduction, and Trump is taking it away. I'd be in favor of taking all deductions, exemptions, credits, and corporate loopholes away, but that's not how it works. Corporations and Trump billionaire cronies will add loopholes and goodies into the bill, while people like me get effed again by replacing the 10% and 15% tax rate with 12 and 25%. The average middle-class family will get screwed. In the previous example of a family making $100,000 with a significant state and local tax deduction, the $16,500 annual tax bill will likely go up dramatically. Even if they tax the first $50,000, a big if, at 12%, their annual tax bill will go up to $18,500, a 12% increase. If that 12% bracket cutoff is lower, then the tax bill will soar. There isn't a reasonable scenario where a home-owning middle-class family of four doesn't pay more taxes under the Trump proposal. Don't believe what you hear on TV from paid-for propagandists. You are going to get screwed so corporate fat cats can boost their profits even more, says this gentleman. And on that note, I want to go to the other article real quick. Trump tax plan, this is all zero hedge. Trump tax plan to benefit the top 1% the most and will cost $2.4 trillion middle class to pay more taxes. That's a whole different article written by somebody else. Based on what and again, we haven't seen the fine details. We've got kind of a summary. So we can't really say for certain, like what these guys are assuming. They're probably right, or it might even be worse with what they're saying. We will see when we all hopefully get to look at the 2,000-page bill. Maybe they'll pull another Nancy. Nancy, we need you. Bring Nancy out of the freaking gravestone she's stepping in. Nancy, give them the speech. Well, we've got to have to pass the health or the tax care bill first before we can show you what's inside of it. Just ooh, giddy, exciting. This is exciting stuff. What? Us getting screwed and paying more taxes? Yes. And us, congressmen and women, getting huge corporate payoffs from the lobbyists, so that we can insert, as this guy said, their goodies and be exempt from a lot of this. Anyways, based on what we already know about the proposed Trump tax reform, which can be summarized as follows: collapse the 7 individual income tax rates to 3, 12%, 25%, 35%, increase the standard deduction, eliminate personal exemptions, increase the child tax credit, eliminate most itemized deductions, repeal the individual and corporate alternative minimum taxes, repeal the estate tax, repeal the estate tax, reduce the corporate tax rate from 35 to 20%, tax pass-through business income at a top rate of 25%, allow businesses to fully expense investment in equipment and machinery for at least 5 years, adopt a territorial tax system that would exempt the foreign earnings of U.S. corporations from U.S. tax. Moments ago, the Tax Policy Center released its analysis of what the practical impacts of the Trump tax plan will be on the broader population. Below, we present the key findings. And it says the tax plan will cost $2.4 trillion over the first decade, which that is 10 years. You know, it's not like it's a short amount of time, but still, we're adding to the debt once again. Over the first decade and $3.2 trillion over the second decade on a static basis. The proposal would reduce federal revenues by $2.4 trillion over the first 10 years and $3.2 trillion in the second decade. This means that absent a matched deduction in spending, U.S. deficit and debt will increase by a similar amount. This is a problem, as a Senate GOP budget resolution unveiled on Friday only shows for adding $1.5 trillion to the debt, implying a revenue shortfall of just under $1 trillion. The business income tax provisions, including those affecting corporations and pass-through businesses, would reduce revenues by $2.6 trillion over the first 10 years. Elimination of estate and gift taxes would lose another $240 billion. The individual income tax provisions, excluding those related to business income, would increase revenues by about $470 billion over the same time period. While many Americans will benefit, the biggest gains will go to the 1%, whose after-tax income would increase by over 8%. In 2018, the average tax bill for all income groups would decline. Taxpayers in the bottom 95% of the income distribution would see average after-tax incomes increase between 0.5% and 1.2%. However, and where the Democrats will have a field day, taxpayers in the top 1% bracket, taxpayers in the top 1%, incomes above $730,000, would receive about 50% of the total tax benefit. Their after-tax income would increase an average of 8.5%. Between 2018 and 2027, the average tax cut as a share of after-tax income would fall for all income groups other than the top 1%. In 2027, taxpayers between the 80th and 95th percentiles of income, between about $150,000 and $300,000, would experience a slight tax increase on average. The problem is that at this time, taxes for a substantial portion of taxpayers will go up. In 2018, about 12% of taxpayers would face a tax increase of roughly $1,800 on average. Where it gets worse is that many of those who form the backbone of the upper middle class, or more than a third of taxpayers making between about $150,000 to $300,000, will pay more, mainly because most itemized deductions will be repealed. So again, a couple different articles. Tax plan's not looking too good. We haven't seen the fine details either. We've only seen a little summary. I want to see the fine details. I want to see, like people did with the healthcare bill, go in and dissect it. Oh, page 175, page 1910. This says this says that. That's what I want to see. As I've said, the presidents that come and go, they're just the conductor of the train. The train is going down a predetermined set of tracks. They get up in there, they're voted in, they toot the horn and they wave. We're going to take this train to the next level, baby. Yeah. It's on a set of train tracks that were laid down a long time ago. And you ain't turning the train around. Doesn't turn around. Reverse doesn't work. Stop doesn't work. It only goes slightly faster and faster and faster as you get going. Which means you get to the end of the cliff where it ends. Faster and faster. Each and every year. National debt, 5 trillion, 10 trillion, 20 trillion, 30 trillion. Faster and faster. If you look at the charts I've showed you before, 1980, we got our first $1 trillion in debt. Look at the time it took from that to the year 2000, 20 years, whatever, or 30 years if you look at where we were 2010. Then you look from 2010 to just 8 years later. Oh my gosh, we spent a massive amount. Again, the timeline is shrinking and the amounts are becoming massive. And that doesn't even include all the unfunded liabilities, Social Security, bunch of the pension stuff, so much. This is why I love talking about cryptocurrencies left and right. You have an opportunity to take those things, invest, and make as much flipping money as you can, so that when this crap unravels, or they stick it to your heart in a tax code, oh, well, my cryptos are doing great. paying taxes with some of that crypto money sure helps. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of use cases for making some good money in cryptos, but that's another story.